Welcome to My Modern Myth. I'm your host, Eric Beech, and today I turned 40. I rolled yesterday and would like to reflect on mostly the rolling, but we will get to a 1-year reflection sometime next week. Just wanted to get this one out quick because I wanted to talk about what, separate from the 1-year journey, separate from my birthday and turning 40, what impacted me from class. Because there can be lots of stuff going on in life, and you go into an arena and you train and you think something's going to come up. You're going to focus on this, or like, wow, I'm already thinking about this last year journey, but class is going to get you anyway. It's going to get you in a new way. And so this is why I want to talk about what happened last night. And truly it's been the last week, last couple days. So there's two things. The first reflection is sometimes you don't know you're close because no one's telling you. And this is one thing that really hits with motivation, with drive. You, in absence of affirmation, in absence of anyone telling you you're on the right path, it's going to sometimes feel like you're not. And the reality is you might be really, really close, and you just have to adjust one small thing. And this is really evident in Jiu Jitsu. We get to practice this a lot, and it's because we're doing, submissions. We're doing chokes. And these have to be done appropriately. Otherwise, you're just pulling on a head, you're yanking on an arm, and nothing's really happening. But sometimes all it is a matter of millimeters, or sometimes it seems like almost less. It's pressure. And your opponent's not going to tell you that you're close to getting the submission. And in competition, I had this happen where I was going for a guillotine and was feeling like, it's an awkward thing because I'm not experienced enough to know what it's supposed to feel like when you're right there, and you just don't know. So I'm working on this guillotine, and it's like you don't want to burn your energy. You don't want to waste too much time, or feel like I should advance to something else because this isn't working. But I'm watching my opponent, and then I realize that as I was about to think about abandoning the move and try for something else and regroup, his hand came up, ready to tap. And I saw that, and I said, oh, I'm right there. So I gave it a little bit more tap. This isn't just jiu-jitsu, but it's very visually evident in jiu-jitsu. There are signs and symptoms that you're getting close to a submission. And in life, when we're trying something, we're dedicating ourselves to this growth, people are often not going to tell us and mark our progress, but we can see things change around us. We can see the way people engage with us. When I was first healing, I guess, after the military, and I wasn't always in a great mental space, obviously, I noticed after a while that people would treat me differently because they were walking on eggshells. And after years, someone told me that, and I just was thinking, I don't want to be that guy. And so I started to look at that, like, are people walking on eggshells with me, and can I give them permission over and over again to not? Because I'm doing work, I'm getting better. And over time, I still think it happens, but people are less likely to walk on eggshells around me as resiliency grows, as I work through whatever remaining issues that I have. And truly, as a sensitive person who can also be aggressive, I have to walk that balance for the rest of my life. This is okay. This is part of what makes me me, because I'm both a lover and a fighter. I'm a lover warrior archetype, and those are potentially very volatile. And I have been volatile in both ways of inner monologue, of depression, of wanting to fight, and all of these energies that swirl around. And jiu-jitsu, thankfully, gives me a place to put those in a healthy weekly arena. And so I am grateful for that. That's not very far from my mind at any point in time, but nobody's telling me, oh yeah, you're just a little bit squeezed here. Yeah. Oh, you got the choke. No, people aren't going to tell, oh yeah, you're right there. Even when building a community, the metrics on social media aren't going to tell you the true story, because I have more people tell me in person or through a message, a private message, the impact that some of the work that I'm trying to put out there is doing for them or having on them. But if I look at the likes, if I look at the shares, look at the views, it's not special. It's not telling me that story. And then you can get into the weeds of looking at people with 5-10 times the following that you have on social media, and their metrics aren't that different from yours. They just have more followers. So engagement is weird. Nobody on social media is not like this group of people is telling me like, that's it. That's what oh yeah, that's super impactful. And it's nice when you get those one-on-one conversations so that you get that hand up right before the tap. Like, no, stay your course. Like, don't get in your head, man. Just keep going because you're right there. just keep going. Don't doubt yourself. And that's been a huge message, and one that I learn every week in Jiu Jitsu is you just keep going. You just keep adjusting. You're cutting angles at every time you're doing something, going for a triangle. You know, the coach is always talking about, if you're not there, you cut an angle, you walk your shoulders back, you sink into positions, and you just micro adjust. You pause, pivot, and pursue a new path in jiu-jitsu and in life. So I get to practice that every week and realize that it's not all ruined if I have to scoot back, if I have to cut an angle, if I have to open my guard to hip out and reset or whatever I have to do. It's not a failure. It's a pause, pivot. It's a pursuit. It's an adjustment. And one of the other things that I reflected on was this idea of when we do something we love, we have to have an out. And there's a couple of reasons for this. The most realistic reason is, even when you love something and even when you're good at something, you're going to have bad days. And to sit down and do the thing that you love, and if you're good at it or not, you still love it, and struggle with it, I mean, that can be really challenging. I sit down at the drum set and I'm shaking off the rust, and I have really great days where, no, I'm not anything special. It's not something I should record and teach people how to play drums, but it was fun. I was on beat. I was grooving. I felt connected to the music. And to me, that's all I want out of drumming, is to feel that connection, that spiritual connection to the flow of the song. Now, some days I just can't even seem to play coherently through any of the songs that I'm playing. And I get really mad, and you just want to throw your sticks, right? Well, that's when you have to walk away and say, well, I'll come back tomorrow. I'll come back in 2 days. And inevitably, you'll have that good day again. Jiu-jitsu, oh man, I'm making progress. And all of a sudden one day comes and you're like, I don't know anything about jiu-jitsu. I am so stupid. Let me take my belt off because I don't even deserve the belt. But then you go back, and eventually you have a class where you're back in the flow. Why does this happen? I don't know. It could be just a situation where your mind's not thinking clearly enough and you're just off. Or it could be that you're in a move set or a sequence or a pattern of music that you aren't strong in, and it just highlights all of your weaknesses. That's where, like a metronome in practice, I didn't like it because it highlighted every single weakness from beat to beat. You might do 50 good beats, and then you have all of a sudden a measure of rest of rushing, and then you get back into it. But it's constantly showing you. It's not, you can't lie to the metronome. You can't lie to this reality of training with a partner and not succeeding. That's okay. That's part of the game. And if we love something, we're willing to step away and come back to it with a fresh mind, because it's not about being perfect every single session, whatever it is you're doing. It's about finding flow within each session, and also addressing the fact that it's not always going to be great. And if you love it, you'll step away, shake it off, do whatever you have to do. I have my protocols. You should have your protocols. But they should all be in an effort to bring you back onto the mat, back onto the drum throne, back into the recording studio, back into whatever phase and facet in life is your arena for this growth, this catalytic growth. Because I'm not saying it has to be a job, but we have to put ourselves in places that enhance our growth, that challenge us in a way we need to be challenged, that can show us. And this is why sport for me is the big thing. It's challenging the mind and the body. We can enter this arena and have this microcosm of our life shown to us every time we train. And sometimes the messages don't come, but we love it. We know it works, so we keep coming back. We find reasons to keep coming back. And so your task is to find the reason why you keep coming back, and that, for me, is reflection. If I don't reflect, I get too attached to the result of a given practice, a given round, a given match, and I will tell myself a story about what I need to do going forward, and that is usually quit or continue based on how well I did. But if I'm using it as a moment of reflection to stimulate the mind and body, I can then write a life story that sets me towards empowerment, sets me towards growth, and eventually service. So yes, I turned 40, and I'm not going to talk about that in this episode. Like I said, I wanted to cover the reflection and then the year in review. I guess we'll do that episode at another time. But I just wanted to make sure I got this out because it was so impactful. I mean, how many times in life do you feel like you have no idea if you're really that close to your ultimate goal, unless it's attached to a number? a time in a race. And that's why it's so important that we find our own definition, our own metrics to determine if we're growing, if we're on the path, or if we're getting close. And as we do so, we also have to recognize that in any pursuit, we're going to feel like we're very far away, even though last week we felt really close. That's okay. That's part of it. Sometimes that's just telling us step back and rest, like distract yourself, quote unquote, distract yourself in a healthy way, which means find something else you love to bring into your life so that you have somewhere else to go in a moment so you can regroup, recover, and re-engage with that thing you love. Because if we love something, we're willing to overcome the stress, and that overcoming of the stress and the obstacles is what transforms our lives and helps us write that story. But it takes your mind and your body and how we're moving it, how we're engaging with it, how we're ingesting things with mind and body that determines what direction we're going to write that story. Empowerment or disempowerment. Those are the two options. So until next time, journey well, my friends.